Happy New Year, everybody. It's the first show of 2026. Wow. Here we are. You know what's crazy is thinking that 10 years ago, well, is that right? Well, in 2026, 10 years ago, that was the big Trump versus Hillary vote, and it was kind of the beginning of everything, the new kind of socio-political paradigm. And looking back over 10 whole years, it's so wild to think of all the different things that have happened and how, we used to believe in Trump so much, and now we know he's literally just working for Israel. I do recognize the good things Trump has done, where that is the case, But overall, though, it's just pretty well understood now that, we're on our own and we've got to figure out a way out of Jewish global power. That's a pretty serious problem. How will that pan out? We shall find out, I guess. But I was talking with somebody in my chat space about just essentially how I feel that like the time for talk is over pretty much, that like not talk shows, we just have had a culture of highly intellectual people that do hot takes and political analysis, and that served a good purpose, and that was very highly educational for its time. But we need change now. We need like actual change, which everybody knows what's going on. The JQ is going mainstream. We don't need more talk about, why we're in the situation we're in. We know. And that's, again, not meant as a slight against those people. I was one of those people, who produce content of this kind, But everything has a kind of a life cycle, an arc of beginning, middle, and end. And I feel, especially after having been on Millennial Woe's show recently with that huge panel discussion, like I just can't really hear any more of it. Especially, there's a certain kind of a trope personality type in the dissident right of like it's what I would almost call like a far right hipster. It's the ultra nihilist, the person who is just doesn't see any hope in anything and just rattles off millions of reasons why. And we know what our problems are. We don't need to be like shut down with nihilism, but the sense of it, like that kind of hipsterism, if you want to call it that, is a sort of like kind of like I know more than everybody about this, and that's kind of the hipsterishness of it, I suppose, like ahead of the curve or something. And nobody cares anymore. Like it's, there used to be a time when it was like, wow, that's amazing. I didn't know that, or what an incredible insight that is, or this is a challenging new concept, or something. And that's great. That served its purpose. But like, if you're using the knowledge that you have to demoralize your own people and your own movement, how is that a good thing? You don't go to the doctor to find out you got cancer just so that he can say, "Yep, I found out you got cancer. You're fucked. Bye." Like that's not what they do, right? It's okay. We've discovered you got this disease, and here are the treatments that we can offer. So we're now in the movement is now, I believe, should be entering the treatment stage. Which we should have done 10 years ago. But I think at that point everybody was very like, oh, I don't know. So many people were just coming to the truth and didn't even know, you know, like what's really going on, and we're all kind of red pilling each other and this and that. And it was the thing, whatever it was, it's the thing that was happening at the time. So let's zoom in here a bit. Hello to friends in the chat. What else? So I don't know. I mean, there's the sort of political solution, the social solution, and there is no political solution, if you know what I'm referring to. That's the kind of stuff that you can't talk about on YouTube, I'm kind of in the social solution camp. Like, I don't mean kind of, I am in the social solution camp. That being that at the heart of the problem is who we think we are and how we behave as a people. We need to be socially re-engineered back to who we used to be, and or to a better people from what we are now. Whereas we would not allow these things to happen to us and to our children and to our women. You know what I'm saying? Yeah, that's the thing, is to not tolerate the type of abuse that we have, that we live under, not tolerate the rampant crime and corruption in the government, in society. How many people, it's what is it? There's a meme out there about like, it's no one's been arrested o'clock again, people just in the government, in Hollywood, etc., like they just get away with murder, That's, I don't know, there's, I could go on and on about that. I think the message is pretty clear. In the old days, people would get lynched and shit. You know what I'm saying? Like that was like cowboy justice. Obviously, I'm not advocating for something of that nature. But in some way or other, we need to get some kind of leverage. We need to get leverage, This whole thing in Minnesota is like a great example. Everyone knows what happened, but like, okay, what's going on, So, and then there's this whole like, oh, well, it's got to go to the courts, and then the lawyers, and where's the money, and la 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 da 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 da. And this kind of shit just, there should be a word for that, where you stop things from happening just by the sheer fucking bureaucracy of the system. You know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean, I think. So someone like Arval, Return to the Land, that, to me, that's the model right there. Take shit into your own hands. I mean, take it into your own hands. Get out there and build community, build your future. So I can add that it's not the easiest thing to do since I've tried that on several occasions myself, locally where I live. I even brought that up on the show a little bit on Millennial. Who was it? The Prudentialist. He was one of the panel members on the show. And he did say something to the effect that he's going to be forming some sort of, some kind of group. I forget what he called it. But I feel like I had better get in touch with him. I'm already kind of up to my ears and stuff, but I want to be a part of things. I want to, in some way, shape, or form, be a part of things. So, be like, hey, how you doing? We run Millennial Woes together. You had mentioned something about an organization you're putting together. I'm following up on that. Hippocratic oath, hallelujah. Shana Tava Umbatuka. I guess I didn't know you spoke Hebrew. That's impressive, bro. What are you doing online so soon? I'm just checking on server at work. Well, I have today off, and there you go. And now you know. So that's how I'm able to do like a daytime stream. How you doing, bro? What's going on in Pajit land? I'm switching sides. I'm getting a kippa. Kippa. That's, yeah. I had this crazy idea a while ago that, like, if, how, like, the Jews invert reality? Like, that's their whole thing is, boys can be girls and up is down and black is white and all this shit. I thought, well, what if they inverted themselves where their whole mission in life was to save the white race and to, make sure that whites prosper and grow. That's kind of a crazy idea. Cray. Let's see, this message is being held. Let's take a look at it. A nice buttery kippa. Okay. Years. Well, I don't know. I shouldn't go too far down the JQ rabbit hole. But it's good to hear from you, buddy. How was your New Year's? Anything interesting? Anything eventful? I'm in the naughty corner. I'm in the naughty corner? No, you're fine. You're fine, buddy. The Hippocratic Oath has special privileges in the Donald Kent world, for sure. What was I saying? So, we got hit by a shitty snowstorm last night that just destroyed my plans for going into the city and dancing my little heart away. Not to mention, I'm struggling with another cold, and I really didn't need to be out in in that weather. Struggling with this cold here. We were up late jibber jabbering. We have family over, in-laws. That's great. That's wonderful. It's if you have good family, and that's always a good thing. Not everybody does. But part of how I'm getting sick is because I have some family in town, and I took them out into the city for a day, and so there was a lot of getting in and out of the car and walking down roads and stuff, and we had really high wind chill factor, going in and out of shops and this and that, and so I was just out in that freezing cold for all day. Not all day, but you know what I mean. In and out, in and out. So, kind of messed with my mojo. So I just went and got some medicine and working through it. You know what I mean? Hippocratic Oath, did you catch me on Millennial Woes Christmas special? That is the big news, the big Yahoo. Sorry about the cold. It'll be all right. It'll be all right. It's not fun. It sucks, but it's not. It'll be fine. Yeah, being on Millennial, as you know, is a pretty big deal in our sphere. But there was a sort of, for me, there was almost a little bit of dread about it because, like I've been saying, like, how many more panel discussions can we have where everybody is just like, whoa, 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 bad things happen, blah, blah, blah. Like, how many more times can we do that, you know? It's, and again, I'm not trying to like throw shade on the people on the panel. They're all great people, highly intelligent. You know, there's a certain purpose to that. But anyway, I did not. I will have to catch up. So if you go to like Rumble or Odyssey or DLive to Millennial Woes page, you just see what's called American Banquet 2025. Now, another thing is he overbooked the show. He mistakenly thought that some people just wouldn't show up, and everybody showed up. So there were like 13 people on the panel, which is absurd. You know, like, you know. So the show went on for 5 hours, well, 4.5 roughly, but you know, a 5 hour show, bro. I mean, what the fuck? Now, I have to say though, regardless of that, it's like a very, very engaging 5 hours, and time kind of flies by pretty quickly. You know, it's you know, you got some interesting people. There was a little kerfuffle with two of the members, gotten a little bit of a disagreement, and I tried to pull us out of that. It's, you know, like, we're not here to have a little tiff about your beliefs or whatever this shit is. So we moved on. But I once I got the microphone, I did my thing, you know, and I wouldn't say like I was dominating the show, but I framed things in a certain way. And one thing I was essentially promoting, of course, is the arts, but promoting the idea that people act according to who they believe that they are. And our enemies have stolen our narrative, and therefore the arts and entertainment are weapons in this culture war. And we need to get behind it. So, you know, get on board with the project, you know. I think some people jive with that idea, and other people, they're locked into that whole like, well, like, if we just continue to do negative political analysis over and over and over, then somehow that's gonna help, you know. It's almost become like a comfort zone thing. You gotta get out of your comfort zone, you know what I'm saying? We'll see how it plays out. So again, the idea of having a show where people come on a weekly basis to enjoy, you know, music, art, craft, media, funny reels, AI movies, just, you know, all the stuff that you see, sorry, in our online world, then it'd be a kind of a fun bash, you know, be a sort of almost like a little online party. Now, my first guest is Greg Johnson, and that's a top dog dude. You know, that's a big dude in the the sphere. So I'm setting the bar high, having him on there. Grateful, that he accepted. It's of course going to be promotional, like where I did some illustration for books that he's published. So the author of the books will be on the show as well. Spencer J. Quinn, good friend of mine. And so it'll be an interesting chemistry with the three of us. Naturally, we'll go over the books. But then I'll be like, okay, do that for 5 minutes and then jump over and check out a song. And then go back to talking about this stuff. Maybe respond, what'd you think of the song? Something, the importance of the arts. And then go into the next segment, do like a little commercial break where we can, support somebody's channel or maybe there's a fundraiser, you know what I mean? Stuff like that. And then do like the funny reels segment where I'm pulling off tons of hilarious little clips and videos from Instagram. There's a gigantic online culture. Now, some of the stuff I can't play because it's using like the N-word and it's got a lot of Uncle A in it. You know what I'm saying? So I can't, I want to show more of that, but it's still the same culture, if you know what I mean. And a lot of it's just so clever. And so it's kind of an interesting question to say. So it's like, look back to like the alt-right when we had Kek and Kekistan and the Pepe memes and all this stuff. And those memes to me are art. They're a form of art. That was in that culture relied heavily on memes, So to me, that again, it's the art of that culture. So what's going on now is more reels, a lot of AI generated reels that are taking kind of like impossible situations, and some of them are funny, some are kind of offensive. All of them are political in one way or another. And that's the new culture that we're living in. So I just want to stay fresh and on top of those things, recontextualize it, talk about it as these are the name of the show is the Nationalist Culture Review. So Nationalist Culture Review. There you go. And now you know. Yes, that's correct. The banquet, USA Banquet. Big honor. Let me read the chat. Hold on. I'm sorry to not catch up. That's what I found on Rumble. Good. What's a New Year's? Hold on. What's a New Year's without an argument? Alcohol and funny hats. We'll do that. I know you were able to break it up. Yes, you know me. The bringer of peace. The peace bringer. Peacemaker. From DC Comics. Okay, speaking of arts, I was listening to a promo for the Alliance comic book, and the author sounds familiar, but he was using a different name. He sounds like Richard Spencer's esoteric guru. You are correct. Now, people in our culture are going to recognize his voice. Outside our culture, they won't know who he is. You know what I'm saying? But you are correct. That is exactly who you think that is. And so that'll be, he's not, I don't think he's super, like, how do I put it? Like, he knows that people are going to figure it out, is kind of what I'm saying. So, like, I don't have to protect that identity too hard, but I don't need to go out of my way to expose it either. You know what I'm saying? Because at some point, everyone will be like, oh, ha, 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 yeah, that's so-and-so, which is fine, They'll get to that when they get to that, Back out here. Ahmad Navid is here. Hello. Hypocrite Oaf says, "Are we not allowed to name him?" I mean, you can if you want. I'm not going to stop you. It's one of those I can neither confirm nor deny the existence of the blah blah blah. So I'm just playing along with it. But yeah, like I said, eventually people are going to figure that out. And he's aware of that. So don't worry about it. It's not like a huge thing to get upset about. Where did you see this promo? Like, what was the context of that and all that? I'm curious about that. There's a lot of really funny and cool videos. Our media guy, has figured out how to use AI to take my drawings and animate them, and it's shockingly good. AI has really, really come a long way, and it can take a 2D, character design drawing, and then turn it into like it's just doing like kung fu moves or this or that. It's pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. And as an artist, you can only imagine that it feels really good to see my work come alive in that kind of way. You know what I'm saying? So I got some good news. A close friend of mine, he's invested in Bitcoin, and he just pulled in a huge haul. Like he just cashed in really big. And so I'm like, dude, you got to help me out. Like, I want to get into Bitcoin, but I don't know who to trust. So now I got a guy. Now I got a guy. Now I got a guy. And so he gave me a list. Like these are the ones. And he'll just be my guy. Woohoo! So it's going to be steak and lobster every day, baby. It's going to be champagne every day, baby. It takes some time for the money to grow, but I feel excited about it. So that's a kind of a nice little start to 2016. Like I said, I didn't go out. I stayed home, and I'm sick. So, like, my New Year's was a big old nothing burger. But I wasn't depressed. Now, last year at this time, I was like near suicidal depressed. I was very, very down, deep, deep, deep in the black hole. And so I like to kind of take a moment to sort of congratulate myself for like getting out of that and rebuilding myself, forgiving, moving on from certain slights and various things that happened. It's been a productive year. I've become more stable in so many different ways that is really healthy. There's still room for growth, you know. I guess there's always room for growth, but yeah. And then I had like a big conversation with a close friend of mine last night who is not in a good place. He's in more of a. I was like, what are you doing tonight? We were gonna go into the city to this club, but like I said, with the snowstorm and me being sick, whatever, we just talked. And he was like, I'm gonna cry, he's like so depressed, I'm not gonna talk about his personal problems, but he definitely has plenty of reason to be sad. So, but anyway, we talked through some shit, and we're like, you know what? We're gonna get together. We're gonna spar. We're gonna make music. We're gonna go dancing on the weekends and fuck all this depression shit. Just fuck it, you know? Like, control yourself to the extent that you're helping yourself, that you're living your life regardless. Like, it's almost out of spite, you know? I reach levels of depression that I call like Joker levels. You know, the Joker from Batman, where he would just like laugh because like you become insane from that level of depression. There's this type of an insanity that ensues, and you're just laughing instead of crying, or laughing instead of doing something damaging, you know, hurting yourself or others, you know, and in a sense laughing at how absurd shit is, or whatever. And that's a coping mechanism, you know, that's definitely a coping mechanism. But I found that it works, that it actually works. And it's almost like a fake it till you make it kind of scenario. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not like some kind of self-help guru or something, but it worked for me, you know. And I was able to kind of get that across to him a bit. He's he's a very talented artist. So there's something about the arts that you always have your arts to go to. That's quite something. That's really something. Not everybody has that. And then he and I do music together, so just excited about it. Anyway, I'll just kind of stuff to look forward to. Hippocratic Oath says, I won't out of respect. I like him. I think I saw it on New Delphi Media. I really like the animations. Brilliant. Cool. I really like the moving Chanty Binks character. Red-haired feminist. Oh, is her name Chanty Binks? Hi, from Asta Sharma. Hello, Asta Sharma. How are you doing? What's going on? Are you an artist? I get a lot of comic book artists who kind of stumble upon this channel. Where's my girl? Where's my God? Oh well, there's certain people that show up at this time normally. Tox. It's also kind of weird that I get people from like India and Bangladesh on this channel of all channels. You know what I'm saying? It's kind of like, hey, just so long as you're not asking for my credit card number, all right? Just as long as you're not advocating for Vivek Ramaswamy, then we're fine. Georgie animates, bro. Your voice is so deep. Oh, hello, good morning, happy New Year. That was weird. I have a deepish voice. I have a masculine voice. It's funny because I have a buddy. He's got a comic book shop, and he just recently got a dog that he has in there. And I walked in the other day. And it's like, hey man, how you doing? And like the dog started barking at me. Normally animals love me, but I wonder if maybe the deep voice is threatening or something. I don't know. But yeah, I should do voice acting. I just thought like one of these days maybe get hooked up with like some voice acting work, you know? Reading for like audiobooks, or I don't know, do video game acting or something. I don't know. I bet it'd be a nice little side gig, a little bit of Monet. Yeah. Haven't you heard I'm going to become a cryptocurrency giant in 2026? Ow! What did you guys do last night? Any fun party stories? Turn the music down. Hang tight. Take a teeny break here and show you this is like my Christmas gift to myself. This is a reprint of a very famous, what's called a giant size comic. So, normal comics are like this size, okay? So you can see, it's quite large in comparison. Happy New Year, Donald, is that Josh Neal? Is that Josh Neal, JN? If it is Josh Neal, I just emailed you like not long ago. We need to reconnect, buddy. Georgie Animates, you could do that. Well, thank you. Anyway, we're going to get into some fun stuff. It is not. It's okay. Nice to meet you, JN. ZD8GD. Have you been on this channel before? I mostly do comic book illustration. I've got a huge history of talk shows on this channel that you can look into. I recommend everybody subscribe. Hit the subscriber Rooney button there. Chief Moody? What? Holy cow, dude. This is the greatest Scotsman that ever lived, ladies and gentlemen. Chief Moody is in the house. His house. What? Rexus Nexus is here. Hello and Happy New Year. Oh my God, it's a party. I'm going to break out a bottle of wine. Holy shit. Get out of town. You have the ideal Warhammer 40K voice. Wow. Plus having a sore throat really helps, right? You have that Don LaFontaine movie trailer voice. I could do that. In a world not far away, Spider-Man and Superman fight over Gotham City. Who will win in this epic adventure? Tune in next week. So yeah, I could be doing that. I could. I mean, I literally could do that actually. And my name's Don. Oh my God, I'm funny. Wow, that was amazing. New year, new me. What else? LaFontaine, in a world where nothing is as it seems, two superheroes fight a giant robot. Who will come out victorious? Who's the guy that makes movies about the Transformers? Michael Mann or something? What's his name? I forget. This is a goofy looking robot. I love these old comics though. Like this retro style. That's my jam, bruh. That's my jam. I love this shit. That's so classic. How can you not love that? It's so epic. It's so classic. I've noticed that like comics today have like a whole other style. Like there's just a different kind of style that they're using. A lot of anime influence. Some of it's good, some of it's like shite. I'm not a fan of this exactly. Like look how simple their faces are. Like let's look at Thor here. Like, like that's kind of. They're all sort of like childlike in a way. Look at Captain America. Hold on. Hi. Sorry to bother you, but your car is in my way. Can you please move it? Sorry. Okay. Have a nice day. Like that's not superhero, man. This is like, fuck you. Good. I'm gonna smash your brains in. No, he doesn't say that. Superman's a nice guy. He's one of the nice guys. Anyway, let's get back. Michael Bay, that's the guy. Georgie Animates, nice, lol. Barista Heroes, yeah. Oh my God, bro, you just started a new comic book series, Barista Heroes, like oat milk latte for Lex Luthor. Oh my God, you're a damn genius. You are a damn genius, you mofo, crazy mofo. Anyway, I actually have the original version of this, which is worth a lot of money, but like it's old, and I actually took it to. I used to teach comic book illustration to kids, and it's a long story. And I was trying to get some Xerox copies of some of the art, and the woman in the office of the school, she kind of manhandled the book and like tore the cover off of it. And I'm like, you fucking, you know, I almost like body slammed her. I mean, she has no idea how upset I was when she did that. Anyway, so it's damaged now. But anyway, I got this nice, beautiful new. I guess it looks like maybe DC's putting out. They're not putting out. They're putting out these new, fresh versions. Quite good. But you can kind of see where my inspiration comes from when you look at this. If you look kind of at like the faces and stuff, I'm not like that 70s ish. I think, my work's, I don't know, people say that my work's very retro, which I like. That's a compliment. It's essentially, like, I love this era. I think it's like kind of like a peak era in comics, I suppose. And so I would want to copy that. I like that. I like to keep it alive in a way, like a type of some type of tradition. Think of it that way. This is an American illustration tradition. Wow. Oh, that's so sweet. All right, let's read some comments. Rexus says, I have the title of chapter 3 on page 20 written down already. Just need to do some other short story for the sake of fun. Good. I actually started a short story. It could be like a movie script yesterday, but it's like way too controversial to even talk about it. Like everything that you're not supposed to say is in the story, and because it's like, I don't know what it is. It's like when you tell me I can't say something, then I just have to fucking say it. Hippocratic Oath says, we want Magawaffen before Barista Heroes. Oh my God. How about Magawaffen versus Barista Heroes? Ooh. They'd be like the far right versus the far left. Holy shit, that's a great idea. Mangawaffen. Maga versus manga, right? I see the distinction. I'm going to get back to work here. You guys are distracting me. Rexus says the chapter title is The Demon Skinner? Oh, Demon Skinner. Kind of a reference and callback to the Black Swordsman title that is given to Guts in Berserk. I've heard of Berserk, but I don't really know it. There's Berserker. There's a comic book by Keanu Reeves called Berserker or The Berserker, where he's like naturally the main character. I think that's cool. I mean, how many other movie stars have their own comic books, Speaking of which, I saw a really, really good documentary on the life of, I forgot his name, the creator of Hellboy, Mike Mignola, who I met in New York City at New York Comic Con. So he's Mike Mignola, his story is actually kind of like, I don't know what to say. Like he's like the unlikely hero kind of. He really, I hate to say this, but like it took him a long time to hit his stride. Like his artwork wasn't really that good for a long time. And even people in the industry were like, this guy is sort of like, when we need somebody to do a job and we can't find somebody, he's there. You know what I mean? You want to have like popular artists, but then if they're tied up or busy, then you kind of go down the line of who you can get next. And Mignola was like the last guy on the list, you know what I'm saying? And he would just hang out at Marvel Studios, just kind of like a lost puppy, like looking for work, and they'd had him doing inking, blah 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 blah. And at one point, he was going to quit comics. I think he was married at this point, and he just thought, if I'm going to quit comics, I'm just going to do one thing that I want to do. This is kind of bizarre because Stan Lee did exactly the same thing. I'm forgetting what. I think what he did was. What was it? Fantastic Four. Yeah, he decided, it's time to get out of comics. It's not a respectable field, but before I go, I'm gonna just do one last story. I'm pretty sure it's Fantastic Four. Anyway, for Mike Mignola, it was Hellboy, and so, and then that just exploded. But there was something in there. It's not just the Hellboy character; it's the art style, which of course he's famous for. And that all kind of came together. That's just amazing stuff, interesting stuff. And then, of course, Guillermo del Toro taking on the book, like a match made in heaven, like perfect, Pretty cool stuff, cool story. For me, as a young, up-and-coming comic guy, I was into Hellboy like hardcore. Oh my God, I'm a massive Hellboy fan. And whatever, the graphic novels and the regular, like all of that, I just collected it and I loved it. Especially the kind of anthropomorphic and mythological side to it. So anyway, then, and I'm trying to learn how to draw in a comic book style. In those days, it was like, yeah, you want to work for Marvel or DC, And so I put together a portfolio. There's something called the Big Apple Con, which, of course, the Big Apple is New York City. So I noticed that Mike Mignola was going to be at it. And I'm like, oh, my God, I have to go. Like, I can actually meet my hero. And not only that, I'm going to show him my portfolio and try to get an honest answer from someone I admire in the industry. What do you think about my art? Is this something I should pursue? And I'm waiting in line. Of course, just seeing him physically in the flesh, like, is such a nerd out moment. It's like, oh my God, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm just kind of trying not to like look like make a fool of myself, sort of, by being a fanboy or something. And finally, my time comes up, and I'm like, oh, dude, I'm like your biggest fan, and I'm sure he's heard that before. So I show him my portfolio, and at the time, like, I had like come back from Asia, and I had been doing like Chinese paintings and watercolors and nothing remotely close to comic book art. You know what I'm saying? Like, you know what I mean by comic book art, like this kind of illustration. And I did actually create some really beautiful characters that were kind of like kung fu monk superheroes. And they were done in a really unique style. It's hard to explain, but it's like a combination of gray tones with pencil and bold outlines in ink. I'll see if I can cook that up, find it somewhere. But they look pretty neat. I'll be honest with you, they did look pretty neat. And he was infatuated with those. He was like, "Oh my God, these are so stunning. These look so good." And I don't know. He went on to just say, like, "There's nothing I can tell you. I love your art." And then, like, out of gratitude or I don't know what, but he like gave me all this free stuff. Like, gave me a free calendar, and he was like, I don't know. It was kind of neat that he felt moved enough by my work and me to just do that and be generous in that way. So that was a very good experience for me. That really gave me a bang, of like encouragement to like, yeah, do this thing. So I guess that moment really, I'm sure it had something to do with why I'm here right now, doing what I'm doing right now. It's pretty neat if you think about it. Then there was like a bad experience that happened at the same comic book convention. Not making yourself look like a dweeb. Good point, Rexus. So, can I say their names by now? This was many years ago. Justin Gray, there's a guy named Justin Gray, and Jimmy Palmiotti, and they're a team. They're like they did a lot of comics together. So Jimmy Palmiotti is mostly, well, he does inking, but he's kind of rebuilt himself as a writer. He's a damn good writer, and just like a guy's guy, like just a good dude. Justin Gray, on the other hand, is more of like a Jim Bro, hard ass, thinks highly of himself, kind of a little bit of a bully type of a guy. And and he does the art for Palmiotti's books. Now, I don't know what these guys are doing now. It's been a long time since this happened. But anyway, I noticed them there. I'm like, wow, holy shit! I buy their books. I like their work, and how cool! This is a neat fan moment. I get to meet them, and naturally, I'm going to show them my portfolio. So I'm in line or whatever, and it comes up. It's my turn, and so like whatever. Justin Gray, he's looking through my work and he's just taking a huge shit on it. Like he's just taking a big dump on my artwork. And then he starts raising his voice. And he starts like, I'm gonna make a scene. I'm gonna make an example out of you, Donald Kent. And so he goes on to like, he's like kind of not yelling at me, but like when you raise your voice that loud, you can basically think of it as yelling. And then the kinds of things that he was saying were a bit rude, a bit, mean-spirited, a bit condescending about, he's saying like, because I have like a huge fine art background. Maybe that threatened him. Maybe he didn't like that. Holy shit, I didn't even think about that. Because I had a lot of fine art in there. Oh my God, maybe that's why. Holy shit, I never even thought about that. Anyway, he's like, just because you can play violin doesn't mean you can play piano. And a crowd of people gathered around. Like, people are just, doing their thing, buying comics, going to different tables. It's a comic book convention. And then, I'm getting a portfolio review by a professional illustrator who works for DC, and he starts raising his voice at me and giving me a lecture. Now, knowing me, being Mr. Cool as a cucumber, I just stand there quietly and I just listen, and I didn't react at all. I didn't fight him. I just listened the whole time. And I'm noticing that like there's a crowd forming around us, and he's vibing off of that, like, oh, I'm getting a lot of attention here. I'm gonna chew this guy out, like that. I'm gonna be a big tough guy. I'm a professional comic book artist. I can shit on people. So like, because in my head I'm thinking, dude, you don't know who I am. I could fucking draw circles around you, you stupid asshole. But I didn't say that. I'm just like, I just came back from living in Taiwan for 4 years, where I exhibited my paintings in different places around the country. And like the depth of the work that I do is profound and beautiful. And you're talking to me like I'm some kind of high school kid that just picked up a pencil a week ago. And so I just kind of let him do his little shtick. And I'm like, okay, thank you, and just wrapped up my stuff and moved on. But I thought like that was an interesting experience. That was a little story for you there. Anyway, let's see if there's any more comments. I guess everybody left. They don't like my stories anymore. I guess I blew it. I just lost all my fans. Shit. I gotta drink some water. Talking too much. Oh, so good. Oh, boy, oh boy. Turn the heat down a little bit. It's always hot in this place. Let's read something here. Hippocratic Oath says the Vegas experience. You hit the jackpot at the Mike Mignola table, big time. Okay, looks like my Wi-Fi is fine for now. Okay. It was very memorable. There's only a few times in an artist's life where something like that happens, and it's a landmark experience. It's a turning point where you kind of, when your hero like compliments you at your art, that's like rocket fuel. That makes you, that's like it. You're like, okay, I'm golden from here. I'm on my own. I can take off. In college, years earlier, there was a professor who was a famous artist. He's got work in it's called the MoMA, the Museum of Modern Art in New York City. I forget, 23rd Street or something. Anyway, that's colossal. I mean, to have a work of art in there, you're in history now. You're like ensconced in history. So, and this guy's my fucking teacher. So it's like, wow, that's a pretty big deal. Very, very cool dude. He was kind of part of a certain art scene in New York City in the 80s with a bunch of other famous artists of that time. Like they were kind of the Rat Pack of their day, if you know what I mean. So, and then like, wow, it's bizarre that like he moved to my city and then whatever, became a teacher, probably got married and whatever. Anyway, so, having him, I don't know, tell me that my art is good or whatever was like ginormous. It was a very, very huge, very important event in my life. And the way that it went down too was pretty amazing because, he was actually an art education teacher and I was a fine art major, but I had to take some electives. And so I was recommended to take his class, which I did. And then, so I'm dweebing out there too, because I'm thinking, fuck, this guy's like a very major, well-known famous artist. And I want to impress him, so whatever. There were just, I did a lot in that class to really like just impress him, frankly. I'm like 20 years old and it means a lot to me at the time, all that stuff. So finally, at one point, after class, he's like, hey, Donald, during lunch break, why don't you go up to your studio there and grab like a couple of your best paintings and bring them down here, and we're gonna talk about them. And I was like, whoa, oh my god, oh my god, this is a big deal. So, of course, I did that, and then it was really neat to kind of be alone in the classroom with him, and he's looking through my work, and he says, I'm not sure what it is that makes an artist, but whatever it is, you got it. And I was just walking on freaking clouds after that. I was on seven heaven after that. That moment really locked me in for life. You know what I'm saying? It locked me in for life. I'm like, this means everything to me at 20 years old, because you're 20, frankly, you're still finding yourself, you're young, you're kind of figuring shit out, this and that. So, man, oh man, I'm very grateful for that. Anyway, let's read some comments here. Hippocratic Oath says, have you lent your artistic eye to look at Trump's Arc of Triumph that breaks ground in D.C.? It is peak tacky or good. I have not seen it, so unfortunately I cannot comment. I'm sorry. Trump is generally pretty gaudy in his tastes. He's very, like, ostentatious. They have like an apartment where like everything is gold, It's so fucking stupid. It's all made of gold. The ceiling is made of gold. The refrigerator is made of, you guessed it, gold. Like that kind of mentality or whatever is silly. But again, I haven't seen it, so I can't comment yet. Hopefully it's not made of gold. I don't know, we'll see, I suppose. It's funny, people do comment on my voice a lot. But what I don't know, I guess I should try to get into voice acting of some kind. I'm really excited about starting the Nationalist Art Review show at the end of January. Greg Johnson, first guest, with Spencer J. Quinn. Spencer is a writer who publishes with Greg Johnson, Countercurrents, but he also does like a regular blog, writes articles there, I think every week or something like that. Locked in pretty tight with the Countercurrents thing. And so I illustrated some of his books, and, Spencer's a good friend. I've had him on the show before to promote other books that he's written. Solid guy, like super, super smart, solid dude. He's got, like, I don't know, like he sort of reminds me of like a lawyer, like, that kind of smart. There's certain people that just have, like, they're very articulate, they know their shit. Probably comes from wealth, like I would expect. Just, you know what I'm saying? Like people who come from rich families have a certain way about them. I don't know if that's true, but I just, he's a high class dude. Good heart. Anyway, what do we got here? It has a gold winged creature on top. Well, golly gee. What do you know? What kind of creature? Like a Remphan? Moloch? I saw an interesting theory online today, that the concept of the devil comes from the Jews. And, the dude was like, okay, hear me out, And he talks about in the Bible when Christ goes to the desert and he is met by the devil, who then offers him, like, if you, I can give you all this land, all these countries, all the money in the world, if all you have to do is bow down to me. And that's very famous, that's well known in the Bible. And so if you look at the structure of Israel and how the Jews operate, that's literally what they do, is they have that kind of like controlling all the countries and the banking and, but you have to, align with them. I saw this woman in the Israeli Congress absolutely blasting Netanyahu, like one thing after the next about like his crimes, and really, really, really strongly, in a sense, basically saying like, you have put Israel and Jews in an existential threat by the way that you have done all of these horrendous crimes. Obviously a lot to do with Gaza and Palestinians, and how that's turned the world against Israel and the rest of it. Not only that, though, like a bunch of other things. And if you could have seen his, if you could have seen Netanyahu's face, like, oh my God, you could just see he's planning like how he's gonna kill her, like how dare you say such things publicly, like she's gonna meet with a unlikely car accident soon, or something. You know what I mean? Oh my God. Funny world we live in. Ha ha ha. Okay. What is next? Let's read some comments. Probably a statue of Lucifer, but that's racist. So now, I won't get into that rabbit hole. Let's see. Rexus says, I personally think the concept of demons is very European. The etymological origin of the word demon comes from the ancient Greek word daemon. Wow. Shit, I'm talking a lot for a guy with a freaking sore throat. I'm getting deeper and deeper into Gnosticism. And my understanding at the moment is that demons are they may be like guards per se to keep people on certain planes, that they use fear as a manipulation to kind of, again, guard people and keep them inside the matrix of the demiurge. I could say some shit that'd flip you guys out, and I'm like, I might regret this just because it's like so out there. But fuck it, ha ha. So I recently did a little bit of research on something that's been happening to me all my life, and I've never really known what this is, and a part of me is like, it's nothing. It's nothing. It's just your imagination. Like don't make it anything. It's not anything. And what that is that I see faces, and I know that schizophrenics see faces, but they like see them kind of literally in the but I see faces when my eyes are closed, or if I'm in the dark, and they just emerge and go away, and I don't communicate with them. They're very, very much aware of me, though. They're looking straight at me, and they usually have expressions on their faces that indicate a kind of like they're watching me or something, and they're responding to whatever it is that I'm doing. And I chalk it up to being like, oh well, you're an artist and you just have a very active imagination, and so that these things they're just popping out of your mind, like the way thoughts pop into your mind, only they're visual, like I see them. And they do seem real, though. They do seem very real. Like they're coming in from another dimension. And I just, it happens. Well, I had an experience like that, but it was with like a reptilian. And I'm not a big like reptilian guy. I think I kind of don't believe a lot in that. There's a certain line that I draw where I just sort of think like that's more like clickbait type stuff. But this thing was kind of communicating with me by blinking its eyes to like questions that I was asking. And so I was essentially saying like, all of us, all living beings are of the monad. And this is the monad is like the true God, not Yahweh, not the Jewish God. And that in so being, we all have the divine spark, even you demonic looking creature. So therefore I'm not afraid of you. And, in some way, we're both prisoners here. And so I just gonna laugh at you. And it was, and then it kind of responded to me by blinking in like, not, how art, like human eyes blink up and down horizontally, but they blink this way, like a snake or whatever. And then it just faded away like they all do. And so I'm like, I gotta look this up. I gotta find out, like, what does it mean when you see faces? And there's a particular guy that I follow. I can't remember his name right now. He's like a meditation instructor. He's actually English. He's from England. And he's really, really good. Like, very, very, very good. He's got a great channel. I trust him. I trust this guy. And and that was the first thing that popped up in my feed. Like, why do I see faces when I meditate? Now, I'm not meditating, though. That's the thing about it, is that this just kind of happens spontaneously. It's happened like for years and years. Now, granted, I have a history of meditating, and I think like I have my own spiritual practices that I do on a daily basis, whereby I think that I'm in some way plugged into higher consciousness. Now, that word is not some foofy, ooh, I have higher consciousness, I'm better than you. It's not that. We all have access to higher consciousness. It's if you work on it. I should be accessing like losing weight instead of higher consciousness. That's more like. Anyway, so yeah, he was like, so what's happening is you're getting glimpses of the fourth dimension, at least. Could potentially be other dimensions, but so when you say the fourth dimension, that literally means like when you die, this is where spirits go. It's where a lot of spirits inhabit. There's higher dimensions, obviously, but and he's just basically saying you're just having a glimpse at the beings that inhabit the death realm. And I've come to think of death as our, how do I put it? I don't want to say like our true home. I don't mean it like that, but like it's the spirit body is permanent, whereas the physical body is not. Therefore, where we are now is not the truth, if that makes sense. And thus one should not be attached to it. And at the moment of death, the level of your attachment to your body and the people and all the things in this life can seriously hamper your next incarnation. And for me, I don't want to incarnate. I don't want to come back. That's the goal, is to get out of the matrix permanently. You know. So all of this stuff kind of fits together in the same cosmology. Let's check some chats here. I like that stuff. My friend know how much I'm into that stuff. Hell, I'm pretty much a borderline Hyperborean Gnostic. Dude, you freaking rock. That's all I gotta say. Like, you rock. You rock and roll. I love it, man. Hyperborean Gnostic. That's the name of our new band, Rexus, okay? Damn. That's really good. Hippocratic Oath. He's probably looking for a body and realizes you're not going to cooperate, so he moves on. I think you just hit the nail on the head, bro. I'd say you hit the nail right on the head. I don't know everything about those things, but what I can certainly say is that, they're definitely, how do I say, like they want us to feel fear. They feed off the loosh. So, yeah, like intimidating me, showing himself to me, I think was a form of intimidation. And I think I passed the test. I think it was like, look, dude, we both have the divine spark. You don't frighten me. You know what I mean? And that's a spiritual practice, is facing demons and saying, you don't frighten me. And in fact, I have compassion for you. I hope that because it can't be good being born a demon. That cannot be a good thing. I'm certain of it. It just doesn't. It's not a good manifestation. Yeah, that's not good. No kind of. Ask if he wants to talk and what is the best method to communicate. And then you'll be another Tracy Twyman, an esoteric interviewer. I see what you said there, Rexus. Nice. So that's the thing about it, is that I'm not that advanced where I can actually communicate with these beings. Other than maybe in dreams sometimes. Because I certainly have interacted with, I guess, demons in my sleep. That's never fun. It's not something you want. But if you are lucid, which is why we have to practice lucid dreaming, you can at least make conscious choices about that. You can be like, whoa, wait a second, I'm dreaming. I'm in charge here. This is my world. And then stop and say, no. You don't call the shots. I call the fucking shots. This is how it's going to be. And man, that is the most empowering thing in the world, when you can like kick a demon around, and tell them what's what. That's incredible. That's really, really a great experience. But if you're like hurting them or something, you're still acting out of fear, and that's not what you want. You want to transcend fear totally. So, I don't know, but demons by their nature are not your friends. They're not. I'm sure there's some that probably would try to be your friend in order to manipulate you or something like that. There's stories of that kind of thing, in magic, basically, when they summoning demons and spirits to do the magician's will is a huge part of magic. It's a really, really big part of the history of magic. And there's a lot of, I'm not into that. I'm just going to try to say that. Like, I don't, to me, that's ridiculous. Like, that's evil. You should not fucking do shit like that. But they do, and they have, and there's all kinds of stories about that type of shit. All right, let's read on. I did not finish that interview. That's a pretty long interview. I'm not a fan of the guy interviewing her. He seems kind of like this sort of California soy boyish type dude. But I need to get back into it and like maybe fast forward it a bit. But I appreciate that. Yeah, I need to get back and finish that. Finish that interview. I also need to turn the heat down. It's like scalding in here. Hold on. She was a novice and used the Ouija until one of the entities redesigned the board to make it easier. She didn't like channeling or dreaming because she thought it was dangerous. Channeling's very dangerous. Yeah. Oh, hold on. Give me a second, guys. Hold on. So, here's a cool story about channeling. When I lived in Taiwan, which you guys know, I taught English over there. I lived there for 4 years. I had a class that was advanced English conversation. And that's exactly what it was. All the students in there were like high-level English-speaking people. And they're Taiwanese people. And one day we got a lady that came into the class and never saw her before, was just new. And she's kind of sitting in to see if she wants to pay for the course. And it's really just free conversation, but it's a heavy doses of like, anyway, let's get to the point. So I don't know how, but somehow the topic of ghosts came up. The Taiwanese are really, 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 like Chinese and Taiwanese, they're very, very plugged into ghost culture and their ancestors and things of this nature. So she starts to explain to us that she channels spirits. And that when this started happening to her involuntarily, these ghosts would just jump into her body and start talking and doing things. And it was terrifying for her. She hated it. And then she finally got to a place where she was like, okay, I will allow you to enter my body to talk, do to your relatives or whatever the situation is. But you have to leave, you know, and I'm in charge and da 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 da. So she was telling us about a story where there were some, like an elderly couple, one of them passed away, and they immigrated from China during the Civil War against the communists. And they immigrated to Taiwan from some prefecture way in China, far, far away. So my point is that they speak the language of that prefecture. Like, you know, people in Sichuan speak Sichuanese, and people in Canton speak Cantonese, and, you know, people in Taiwan speak Taiwanese, right? So this woman doesn't know anything other than Taiwanese, Chinese, English. Anyway, this ghost goes into her body and starts speaking in a totally different dialect from this other place in China, and is, you know, just talking to the wife about just, you know, like financial matters and the kids and stuff that you would, you know, if you die, you want your wife to know these things, stuff like that. But she's doing it in a language that she doesn't know. So like it's quite. I mean, I don't know. I mean, you can take that for what it's worth or this or that, but pretty neat story, huh? Pretty cool story. I'm not interested. I basically give the finger to the archons and the demons. I'm like, I know you're there, but I'm just don't bother me. Leave me alone. I'm trying to go to sleep, or I'm trying to watch some Instagram reels. So don't bother me. But they're pretty much always there. But there's also, I'm 90% sure that my mom is near me as well. There's a light in my dining room that flickers quite a lot. And that's kind of one of her ways of communicating with me. I'm really not 100% sure that it's her, but I'll just leave it at that, I guess. I don't know. All right, what's wrong with California? We have Sasquatch and Dark Watchers, but yeah, the interviewer was annoying. Like, it's not California. California is an extremely beautiful state. And I'm sure there's great people there. One of my old best friends lives there, college buddy. He came to visit me about a year ago. It was fun. I've been to where in California? San Jose, Venice Beach, like that kind of Southern California area. I took a train across America to visit an old girlfriend who moved out there. Pretty insane, taking a train across the country. I gotta think of something here. Having a continuity issue with my comics here. Rexus says, I have an idea about that. Half human, half demon man is fighting a battle to control his inner demon, but a succubus seduces him and he has to pray to Belagog, a Slavic god of light, to break free. There's your next story, bro. There's your next story. No, what's your ethnicity? I'm curious. I assume you have a Slavic background. Maybe. All right, I gotta look at some old pages to see if my continuity is off. Yes, it is off. Okay. All right. So this Dreadcat character is wearing glasses, like sunglasses, so I have to have him taking those off to move on to the next scene. So I'll do that here. Oh, my throat hurts. Sucks being sick. Hippocratic Oath says the Trump arc is still in design proposal. Too bad that Donald is not plugged into the right-wing art community. So that's the kind of shit that I'd like to do in the future, is to make sculptures architectural designs. Like, there's so much I can do, man. There's so much I can do. I'd like to make films. I'd like to write plays. I think that, that'd be really, really neat to write plays. That would be very enjoyable. You know, Novels. I've got a lot of short stories already that I have, and my goal this year is to like put them together in a book and publish that. This looks like shit. Hold on. No, that doesn't look right. That could work. I'm Jewish, Scottish, Slavic, very, very oddly enough. Some bits of Slavic heritage, Poland converted Judaism, really, and then moved to the States. Poland. So the creature on top has not been defined. I'm not sure what you mean by on top. On top of where, what? I don't know. This, speaking of creatures, this one is going to be showing up very shortly. And we see him. So these guys break through into this room where there's the bad guy, and he's got the giant monster behind him. I know it's hard to see with the pencil. Oh, sorry, with the pencils there, but that's where we're headed with this. Yeah. The golden winged creature on top. Oh. Okay, I don't know. Let's keep changing subjects here. I'll look it up. I think that's interesting. I would guess, I'd bet money that there's some kind of Jewish symbolism in there. You know what I mean? Have you been able to see anything like that in there? That would make sense. Now I have to close the window because it's freezing. So, hold on. Interesting stuff. Interesting show. All this wacky conversation. Pretty sure my mom came to me in a dream a couple nights ago. It was nice. It was very nice. Normally I'd like wake up crying from something like that, but it was just a really pleasant visit. So that was good. It's interesting how other people don't have these experiences. Like, some people don't even remember their dreams. And I'm like, ugh, that's not good. To me, that seems like a very low level of consciousness. Mark Brauman would suggest an Apollo with a golden chariot on top of the Trump arc. It is too soon for that. Yeah, okay, I get the reference there. Is it too soon? Is it too soon? Um, yeah, that'd be great. I don't really know much about Apollo other than the basics, like how did people actually worship Apollo? Is he really? Was he an actual god or more of a mythological figure? You know what I'm saying? Like that would be interesting to know. I've come to think that a lot of the so-called gods of the past were probably from other planets and or hybrids of alien races that for one reason or other came here. Um, that appears to be the case. Oh wow! Welcome to at Swegan. I'm sure I'm saying your name wrong, but I apologize. A black and white edition of this comic would be good when you're done. So, at Swegan, if I'm saying your name right, go to newdelphimedia.com. I'm going to write this down, and you can write it down somewhere and go check it out. I'll zoom in on this. You can see colored versions of this New Delphi Media.com. So we already have a site up with animations, lots of animations. We've got our own YouTube, and I've designed 100 different characters for this universe. It's not my story, though. I always have to tell people I didn't write this story. This is the writer's world. I've designed a lot of it, or co-designed a lot of it. A lot of it is based on like memes, like the Nordic Jack, the Yes Jack, if you will. If you just go to the site, you can read all about it and find out. Nice, cool beans. So yeah, you'll enjoy it a lot. It's pretty amazing. I'm Scroger. Oh, okay. People do that a lot. They change their names and icons online, and they're like, "Hey, don't you remember me?" And I'm like, "Help, Good to see you, Scrouger. I know. Are you American? I think. Did I ask you this before? I don't know why I think you're German. Yeah, I am American. Okay, cool. That makes two of us, bud. Oh, I gotta say, my cold is starting to get the better of me. Getting a little fatigued. I should probably eat something. I haven't eaten anything today. I can recall some of my dreams. The ones I really remember in detail would be the ones set in Alaska. Snake demon ladies are not what people like to think with pop culture. They're more like succubi. Wow. Snake ladies. Are those anything like mermaids? All right. NewDelphiMedia.com. There you go, gang. All right, folks. My cold is getting the better of me. I'm kind of in the need for a nap. So I think I'm going to wrap it up here. Get more work done later. I might stream again later. Sometimes I record audio of what my dream was about as I wake up. That's good. That's good. Have a good day, Kent. All right. It's wonderful spending some time with you guys. Good fun. And I'll be around. If you can, look me up on millennialwoes.com, American Banquet 2025, and you'll see my interview. All right. God bless. Talk to you soon. See you later. Smash the like. Yes, sir, Bob.